So what, do you need an email or? Maybe we should email her. All right. Maybe that works. My type of jury.
Always, always.
Yeah. I may withdraw. I may withdraw. So I was in trouble for and they're having I'm not getting the name all rolled up.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
No, no, no.
It was super cool. This is very nice people. Yeah. Oh yeah. So run up to Houston. It kind of slaps all the time. They're all the time. Shows all the time. Well, it's so fun.
Okay. All right. If I could have everyone's attention, please. All right. As I stated earlier this morning, some of the crime scene photographs of the child's remains where they are found are graphic. You must maintain your decorum. You cannot gasp or cry or show any emotion at all. If you cannot control your emotions, then you must leave the courtroom. If there is any kind of reaction from someone, you will be escorted out of the courtroom and you will not be able to return. Now, we have a lot of interns here, which is really great. But I need y'all are bouncing in and out of the courtroom a lot. So it's like your mom says, in or out. Okay? In or out. One or the other. Okay? And please wait to talk to each other until you're actually outside the outer doors, because we can still hear you when you are in what we call the well area out there. Okay? Can y'all do that for me? Thank you very much. All right, then we are ready for the jury. And we are streaming again, just FYI. And that clock is really fast. I need to change it. We're ready.
All right.
Right. You may be seated. All right, Ms. Burris, please call your next witness. If you would please raise your right hand. Excuse me. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. If you would be seated, please watch your step. You may proceed.
Ms. Kerr, can you introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury and spell your name before the court?
My name is Rebecca Kerr. I'm a crime scene investigator. My name is spelled REBECCA KER.
You mentioned you're a crime scene investigator.
Yes.
Where do you work?
I currently work with the Mansfield Police Department.
How long have you been with the Mansfield Police Department?
3 years.
All as a crime scene?
Yes.
Did you work anywhere prior to Mansfield Police Department?
I worked for the Dallas Police Department.
In what capacity?
I was a crime scene technician and then a crime scene analyst.
What is the difference between those two?
A crime scene technician is the introductory level, and they answer primarily property crime calls, and the crime scene analyst answers what we call the crimes against persons calls.
So additional training?
Yes, once someone promotes to crime scene analyst, they go through 14 weeks of training, and that includes 10 weeks of field training.
How long were you with the Dallas Police Department?
I was with Dallas for about 6.5 years.
And that was where you were a crime scene technician and then promoted to crime scene analyst.
Yes.
What is, when we say crime scene technician, crime scene analyst, what are we saying you do?
My primary job is to respond to crime scenes and search, document, and collect physical evidence.
So you go to crime scenes, you document them, you seize anything that needs to be seized. How do you know what to document and seize?
Based on the information that we are given at the time, is how we will conduct our search and what exactly we're looking for. The first thing that we do is get information from the officers, then we search and photograph the scene, how we find it, and then we identify pieces of evidence that we are interested in, and then we collect it and package it in a way that it will be preserved.
And what's the point of preserving the packaging of the item in the package?
It needs to be preserved correctly so that it can withstand time.
And any additional testing can be done on it?
Yes.
When you're determining what evidence to collect and what you need to document at the scene, are you just working with the best information you have at the time that you're there?
Yes.
Were you working in that capacity on July 10th of 2019
Yes, I was.
for the Dallas Police Department?
Yes.
At that time, had you been promoted to crime scene analyst or were you a crime scene technician?
I was a crime scene analyst.
On that date, were you dispatched to an address at 9747 Whitehurst?
Yes, I was.
Is that an address in Dallas?
Yes.
Dallas County?
Yes.
State of Texas?
Yes.
And did you go to that address?
Yes, I did.
What time did you arrive?
I arrived at approximately 3:35 a.m.
So I said July 10th, so we're really talking about July 9th.
Yes.
So the next morning at 3 a.m. you're there.
Yes.
Did you go inside?
Yes, I did.
Was there anyone else at the location?
There were a few officers. My supervisor went with me, and I believe the detective was at the scene as well.
No civilians?
No.
You mentioned that your supervisor was there. When you are dispatched to the scene of a potential crime of this magnitude, do you go alone or do you go with others?
If the personnel allows us to, we prefer to have another person with us.
And why is that?
Just to be an extra eye on the scene and extra hands to make sure that we do a thorough job as much as possible.
Choose better than one.
Yes.
You mentioned that you photograph and document the scene as you find it, and then you collect any evidence. You mentioned that you needed to preserve it. Talk to me about what you do to ensure that it's preserved.
Each piece of evidence has a specific way that it needs to be packaged so that it does not become contaminated or is destroyed in any way. So things such as biological matter, what we think might have biological matter, we're going to put in packaging that can breathe, but as well make sure that it's secure so that it cannot be contaminated.
And what's ideal packaging for that?
Paper bags or cardboard boxes.
When you say biological matter, we're talking about saliva, sperm, blood, things like that, right?
Correct.
In addition to documenting the scene as you see it, gathering any potential evidence, and seizing that evidence in those paper bags or boxes, do you do anything else at a scene?
We photograph the scene. We also will search the scene in other manners if we feel the need to look for anything that we might not see with our naked eye.
And then if you see something that needs to be sort of collected, but you can't really take it with you, what do you do?
We'll usually use swabs for something that we can't take with us. We'll swab whatever part of it that we're interested in.
Talk to us about the nature and how you do a swab.
So a swab is essentially just a regular Q-tip that we keep packaged so that it remains sterile. We use sterile water when we're ready. We wet the swab, the cotton tip, and then we brush it over the area that we're interested in.
And what's an example of an area that you might swab?
An area with potential blood that we can see on an item, or an area where we might feel that there might be DNA, where someone might have touched, for example, or a large piece of item that might be a stain that we're interested in.
Going back to this particular location off of Whitehurst, did you, as you described in the story, go in and photograph the scene as you saw it?
Yes, I did.
Can I put this on?
You may.
This card I'm going to show you that's been marked as states 10 through states 23. And ask if you recognize those.
Yes.
And what are they?
These are the photographs I took of the apartment.
They fairly and accurately reflect the way that the apartment looked in those early morning hours of July 11, 2019.
Yes.
And I would offer states 10 through 23.
All right, States Exhibits numbers 10 through 23, crime scene photographs of the apartment are admitted for all purposes.
Permission to publish?
You may.
Begin with States Exhibit 10. As for what is that?
That is a picture of the front door from the outside.
Just documenting the front of the apartment as you saw it.
Yes.
States Exhibit 11. What do we see there?
That is the front door after it had been opened.
And when we say it had been opened, that wasn't the key, was it?
No, we have to do force entry to get it.
Other officers would have did that, right?
Yes.
Because no one was home to open.
Correct.
States 12. What do we see in States
That is a futon that was in the living room.
Is this the futon that's kind of directly in front of the door back in States 11?
I think, yeah, so, you can see it in the background.
States 13, what do you see on this one?
That is the corner, just as you go inside, it's just to the left of the hot center.
So it's sort of, with that last picture, we just turn to the left and take that photo, essentially. States 14,
That is further inside, the apartment, I believe that's the kitchen to the left, so I'm turning left as I'm taking more photos.
that last futon is to the right of this photo.
Yes,
States 15,
that is the kitchen.
States 16,
That is back towards the front door and the bedroom door.
so the front door is to the far right of this photo.
Yes,
We see kind of the door off of its hinges, maybe it was covering that like washer dryer area.
correct,
And then the next door is to the bedroom.
yes.
State 17,
That is the bedroom door from the outside.
States 18,
That is the bed inside the bedroom.
is this the only bed that was in that bedroom?
Yes,
States 19,
that is, more of a, overview photo of the bedroom. You can see more of the entire bedroom.
it appears in States 19 some additions that we made, certainly from States 18 to 19. Can you tell us about that?
So this photo was taken after I completed my overalls and after I did the search. I can tell because I can see my evidence markers on the bed and on the floor.
And tell us more about what those evidence markers are for.
So they are numbered markers where we mark areas of evidence that we are interested in. The numbers allow us to put them in organized throughout.
And so, for example, number 1 on the bed doesn't pertain to what's on the photo.
Correct.
That marker and that number will carry with that piece of evidence throughout the case.
Yes.
States 20, what do we see there?
That is a close-up photo of a pillow that was in the corner of the bedroom that I have labeled number 2.
Why was that significant to you?
The reddish brown stains on the pillow and something that we identified as potentially leaking.
States 21,
That is a sticker on, I believe that's the closet door, that has a number on it and it's placed under a red stain that we're interested in.
and that red stain is over 3/4 the way up on the door.
Yes,
And you said it's got a number beneath it?
yes,
And is that delineated in States Exhibit 22?
yes, it is.
Approximately how high off the ground is that mark that's labeled number 4 in States Exhibit 21 and 22?
From that photo, I would approximate a little bit above my eye level.
And what would, we're talking feet, inches, what we're
Feet. I'm 5'4".
talking. So above 5'4". Is that right?
Potentially, yes.
And again, 22 is the close-up.
Yes.
States Exhibit 23, what is that?
That is a photograph of the tub and the toilet inside the bathroom.
What, if anything, did you do in the bathroom?
So after we photographed it, we did later process the bathroom for latent blood, red blood not seen to the naked eye, using a chemical called Blue Star.
Tell us about that chemical and its use.
So Blue Star is works the same way that the commonly known luminol works. It's a chemical that reacts to components of blood, and it positive reaction is a blue luminescence or a glow.
And is it only, does Blue Star only luminesce when there is blood present?
No, it does react to other chemicals, common chemicals such as bleach.
So if it luminesces, it could be bleach, it could be blood, but either way, you just attempt to take a sample.
Correct.
Outside of the bathroom, did you take any other samples like you described in the story earlier with the Q-tip and the swab?
I took swabs of the red stain on the door. There was another stain on the bathroom door, and then I took swabs of the two places that luminesced in the Blue Star.
And that was in the bathroom.
Yes.
In addition to the swabs, did you physically remove things from this house?
Yes.
And what did you take?
I took the two sheets from the bed. I took the pillow that was me. I took a cutout of the carpet between the bed and the bathroom. I took, there was damage to a closet door. I took both pieces from that damage. And I took a t-shirt that was hanging on the bathroom door.
Because at the time, we're not sure what's going to be important. May I approach, please?
May.
This card I'm showing you what's been marked as states 24 and 25. And I'll ask you if you recognize those.
Yes, these are the bags that I placed, a sheet in one bag and the pillow in another.
And how do you know they're your bags?
They're marked with my name and batch number.
Any other identifying information on the bags?
The bags have the case number as well as the evidence tag number that I assigned it, and the description of both the case, and the item, as well as the date that I collected it.
And then the item is sealed.
Yes.
And how is that item sealed?
The item sealed with evidence tape, and I also marked with my initials, badge, and date that I sealed.
Now, admittedly, there's additional markings on States Exhibits 24 and 25 that are not yours. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Do you know whose markings those are?
Those appear to belong to the lab.
They carry with it a number that you're familiar with that is going to the Southwest Institute of Forensic Sciences.
Correct.
Can you take a look at the contents of those 24 and 25?
If you could please have the witness identify which item goes with which exhibit number.
Yes,
The fitted sheet goes with exhibit number 24.
Thank you.
And the pillow goes with exhibit 25.
You can identify that is.
Yes, the fitted sheet is inside this bag, along with an envelope from the lab that has trace evidence inside.
And 25.
25 has the pillow that was marked.
State would offer states 24 and 25.
Right, States Exhibit 24, the fitted sheet, States Exhibit 25, the pillow, are both admitted for all purposes.
Permission to publish.
You may.
And to be clear, Your Honor, we're offering States 24, which is a brown bag marked in the way this witness has described it already, and its contents as States Exhibit 24, and as well as for 25, the paper bag and its contents.
Noted for the record.
So looking at States 24, this is that fitted sheet from that bed that we saw, is that correct?
That is correct.
And just by mere visual inspection, we can see a number of stains or marks, something that's different than the teal color of the sheet itself, correct?
Correct.
And is that the reason that you collected it?
Yes.
Additionally, we can see that there has been a cut of this sheet and some markings made on it. To your knowledge, those were not done by you, but by the lab.
Correct.
And then States 25. Is that pillow with that brownish, reddish area. This was reddish when you saw it. Now it's a little bit brownish area delineated on what you marked as 2, but it states Exhibit 25.
Correct.
And again, there's cutting and some additional markings to your knowledge those were done there.
At the lab.
I'll pass it over.
Cross-examination.
Is it Miss Kern?
Mrs.
Oh, Mrs. Kern, I'm sorry. When you got to apartment 165, were there police there?
Yes.
Do you know if it was secured the whole time?
I do not.
Because another officer took some photographs earlier in the morning on the 10th at about 8:49. Have you looked at those pictures?
I have not.
So if we were to compare those pictures, you wouldn't be able to you wouldn't know that things had been moved around in the apartment.
Correct.
And you don't know if it was secured between 8:49 a.m. and 3:03 a.m. when you came to took pictures.
I do not.
And when you have DNA or you take swabs of things or collect evidence, you would agree with me that you don't know when that was left there. Would you agree with that?
I agree.
It could have been minutes, hours, days, months, years.
Correct.
And if something were to come back as blood, you don't know where the blood came from.
Correct.
You couldn't say, oh, it was from a cut finger.
Yes.
You couldn't say, oh, it was because I stubbed my toe and it started bleeding.
That is correct.
You just know that you collected something and here it is.
Yes.
It's important to have a scene secure the whole time,
Yes, it is.
because you don't want somebody coming in and moving things around.
That is correct.
You don't want, because at that point you don't know whether something was there from the very beginning, or if somebody placed it there, or if it got planted. You have no idea.
That is correct.
And as far as you can say, all of your pictures that you took at 3:03 are pictures that we see up there.
Yes.
And you didn't look at any of the other pictures
No, I did not.
that Detective Cleary took.
No, I did not.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
May this witness be finally excused.
No objection from the state. No objection.
Thank you, Mrs. Kerr. You're free to leave and go back to Mansfield. Thank you very much. Call your next witness.
State Paul Rico Harris.
Good afternoon. If you would please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? You may be seated. Thank you, sir. You may proceed.
Thank you. Detective, could you introduce yourself? I'm sorry, Sergeant. Can you introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury and spell your name for the court?
Yes. My name is Sergeant Harris. First name is Rico. R-I-C-O. H-A-R-R-I-S. My badge number is 8816. I've been a Dallas police officer for the past 19 years. The last 5 years I've been a sergeant.
Congrats on the promotion.
Thank you.
As a sergeant, do you have a particular assignment within the police department?
As a sergeant, yes. Normally I will respond to calls, but mainly it's the supervised officers who will respond to calls.
So you're in the patrol division?
Yes.
Because there's a number of different divisions.
Oh, sorry, yes. Yes, I'm actually in patrol. I ride the squad car. Today I was in patrol this morning. Coming to court, so.
Thank you for being here. Let's talk about, you said that you've been with the Dallas Police Department for how long?
About 19 years.
19 years. Are you a licensed police officer?
Yes.
What does it mean to be a licensed police officer?
Oh, to be a licensed police officer means that you have attended the police academy and maintain your T-Codes license. That's a license that we have to update every 2 years. We have to take classes to make sure we're updated with the state standards.
You have to pass a test offered by the state?
Yes.
Keep up to date and proficiency with your weapon.
Yes.
And you mentioned keep taking classes to maintain your license. What most of us do is continuing education.
Yes.
And that's to become just a police officer, correct?
Yes.
Do you do additional training to move up in the ranks throughout the department?
Yes.
Is sergeant your first promotion?
No, it's my third promotion.
Tell us about the rest of them.
My first promotion was to senior corporal from police officer. That test I took in 2015. After I moved to a couple of units, I then promoted to the rank of sergeant in the year 2020.
Between senior corporal and sergeant, did you have a different title?
At that time, I was just senior corporal. And then I did take a position as a detective in robberies, and that was my first time moving to detective.
Do you get additional training when you become a detective?
Yes.
Tell us about that training.
The main training that we did receive was just interrogation tactics. We also review crime scenes. We also have to work on police writing or report writing. But it wasn't too extensive because thankfully a lot of the things that we do on patrol as an officer kind of relates to being a detective.
And then when you become a sergeant, additional training to supervise people.
Yes.
I want to take you to, as part of your training to be a detective, you mentioned interrogation training. Did you also take any training to talk to just people in general?
Yes.
Why is that? Why would you do that when you became a detective?
The main thing, it was just a refresher. It was certain techniques that we had to learn. But as an everyday officer in patrol, like every time you talk to someone, you're technically kind of doing an interview. You're just asking basic questions: who, where, when, and why. And that's to get you comfortable talking to people. Once you become detective and you start, and you go over some classes where you're doing interrogation, there are several types of interrogation. I'm not gonna pretend like I know all of them. I know the majors. I want to say it's like 5. And just to give you an example, the one I've always maintained was story lock. Story lock is a technique to where once you have information as a detective, you want to talk. If you're talking to the defendant, you ask them if they want to talk. Once they start talking, you let them explain their situation. Once they explain their situation, you take the information that you have, that you trust and verify, and either defuse what they're saying, or as it says, story lock them into their story to where they can't refute it.
Back in July of 2019, what was your assignment?
2019? 2019, I was a child abuse detective.
Tell us about the child abuse division. What types of cases does that division?
The child abuse unit investigates cases where offenses that occur to children under the age of 17 by family members. And some of those offenses include sexual abuse, physical abuse, and in the case of a child's death as well.
The child abuse is specific to within the family.
Yes, that is the main distinction. The main distinction is that we investigate anything where the child is harmed by a family member.
And then there's a separate division that is labeled, at least within the Dallas Police Department, child exploitation, and they handle without the family.
Correct.
How do you get cases as a child abuse detective? How do they come to you?
Normally the calls are dispatched to us. I want to say if patrol responds to a call, they will notify the dispatcher, and the dispatcher will call our own call number at the office. And then if our sergeant is there, he will dispatch the call out to the next available detective.
And the child abuse division of the Dallas Police Department, that's not housed at the headquarters there at Jack Evans, right?
No.
Where is it?
We are part of the DAP. We were attached to the DAP, Dallas Children's Advocacy Center. It's located off of, I want to say, the 5300 block of Samuel Boulevard. Approximately 3 or 4 miles from Dallas Police Headquarters.
And why is that unit separated out in that building?
That unit is separated. Some years ago, someone came up with a good idea to make sure that in these cases, since a child has been victimized, they decided to make sure that police, CPS, and also therapists will be housed at the same place. That way the child can, once they talk to someone about whatever happened to them, we can all be at the same locations. I believe in the past, there was a lot of cross-ups. CPS to come talk to the kid, and police to come. Every time the child talked to someone, that was another time they had to relive it. So I believe that was the initial idea behind it, the Dallas Children's Advocacy Center.
And to that end, are they interviewed by the police or CPS in that building?
No, they're not interviewed by Dallas. Police or CPS. They're interviewed by forensic interviewers.
And who employs the interviewers?
The Dallas Children's Advocacy Center.
Those particular interviewers are not law enforcement or CPS.
No.
They're just trained individuals who talk to kids.
Yes.
Did you get assigned a case involving Cedric Jackson Jr. or CJ, as he was called?
Yes.
How did you get assigned to that case?
We were all working in the office that day. I believe our lieutenant at the time was aware of this case when it initially started early that morning. And I was assigned the case sometime after lunch, about 12 o'clock.
Do you recall how you got, if it was already going on earlier that day, how did you become involved?
Yes.
Why did you become involved?
We became involved in it due to the nature of the case. Like I said, our lieutenant at the time, she was over our unit and also the youth unit, the youth division. So she was in contact with the sergeants and the officers working the case initially. And once we just heard some of the basic elements of the offense, we kind of figured it was coming our way. One of those being that it was a child that was missing due to the age of the child. And I believe that we may have been aware of that it might have been another child in the home. And that's when we knew the child was going to come to the center for possible forensic interview.
And so, what was your first step after your lieutenant gets this information, passes it on to you, and says, "Hey, get started"? What's your first step?
Our first step is just to get any information from whoever was the caregiver of the child. That's usually the first step.
And is that your responsibility, as this is your case, or is that somebody else's responsibility? How does that work?
Normally, if it was just, I'll say a simple case, normally I would schedule an interview with someone. They would come to I'll make a phone call with the parent or the guardian. They'll come to the center. And then if they have any kids, we'll schedule, I would have a forensic interview on standby if that child needs to be interviewed.
But this was not a normal case.
No.
So what was the process here?
The process here was that the initial offense was that someone had allegedly either taken the child or the child was missing. So from my understanding, they were already conducting a search that morning around the surrounding areas. And they were also, and this is the youth department, they were also chasing down the initial leads of what the witnesses say what possibly allegedly happened to the child.
And that's the idea that this person came into the apartment and took the baby, right?
Yes.
That proved to be not a thing.
Yes.
And that individual was taken into custody, talked to, searched, all the things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So by the time you become involved, there's a vast amount of people already working on this case.
Yes.
You said youth was working it,
Mm-hmm.
patrol was out there.
Yes.
Any other divisions helping out that you know
of? I know that was a K9. That was a rescue unit. And later, I believe homicide worked with us later. And this was just primarily for just trying to interview possible witnesses out in the field.
Did you have any federal agencies assist as well?
Yes. The federal agents started assisting when we asked for a polygraph test. I believe in this protocol when a child is missing, or again, maybe it was my lieutenant who contacted them, but they also had help.
Because the FBI is a big assister when there's missing kids.
Yes.
So we're going to put a pin in that. Let's come back to it. But for now, you mentioned that you needed information from the caregiver. To your knowledge, who was that?
I believe it was Crystal.
Jackson?
Jackson, I'm sorry.
The families are Johnson and Jackson, right?
Yes.
And a lot of the same names.
Yes.
So Crystal was the caregiver to your knowledge.
Yes.
You mentioned that that's somebody that you wanted to talk to.
Yes.
And were you able to speak with her?
Yes, we were.
Where did that happen?
That happened at the Dallas Street Advocacy Center.
Approximately what time did you first meet her and start talking to her?
I want to say we first, I think I first started talking to her between 4 and 5 p.m. But I want to say she was possibly at the center around 2 o'clock.
But you were running down other stuff and didn't start talking to her until 4
Yes.
ish. Was there, when Crystal came to the center, was there anybody else with her at that time?
Yes, she had one child, Aaliyah.
Was Aaliyah interviewed at the center?
Yes, she was interviewed at the center. That was part of the reason why I had a delay in talking to Crystal. I had to witness something like the interview.
So first you watched Aaliyah's forensic interview.
Yes.
And then you talked to Crystal.
Yes.
After watching Aaliyah's interview and talking to Crystal, do you have an idea that these are the only 2 people you need to talk to?
No, that idea quickly changed too. There were multiple people we possibly needed to talk to.
Okay. And who were those people?
We ended up having to talk to, I believe, a total of 6 kids. Elena, Aaliyah, Harmony, Serenity, Zion, King, and also Cedric Johnson Jr.
And why were you talking to those particular kids? Or why were those kids being interviewed?
Anytime there's an alleged offense that happened to a child, more than likely the kids are going to be witnesses, or they can be potential victims. So we want to do a forensic interview with all of them.
And so were all of those children talked to on July 10th of 2019?
Yes.
Were you able to observe all of their interviews?
No, I was not.
And why was that?
Due to the nature of the offense, we were looking for a missing child, so time was of the essence. There was no way I could physically watch 6 forensic interviews at one time. There was also additional child abuse detectives that assisted me in watching those videos.
So again, big team.
Yes.
And the child abuse detectives are also a team.
Yes.
So y'all are working with each other to accomplish what you can in a short amount of time.
Yes.
Because like you said, time is of the essence.
Yes.
So those 6 children are being interviewed. Do all 6 of those interviews occur before you talk to Crystal the first time?
No, they were occurring simultaneously. I was talking to Crystal.
So you're getting information from Crystal, other detectives are getting information from the children, and are you able to take breaks to kind of compare and figure out what you have?
Yes.
When those breaks are occurring and you're discussing what the information is that you're being provided, is a picture starting to come together, or are you still at a loss as to what happened to CJ?
A picture is starting to come together.
Okay. Approximately, you said you started talking to Crystal around 4 or 5?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I forget also. When do the forensic interviews take place and end, to the best of your recollection?
The earliest with Aaliyah was around 2:30, and I think we had the kids running forensic interviews until about 8, 9 p.m. Which is actually a little late for kids, by the way.
Right. Ideally, they're not, especially at this age, still up.
Yes.
But you were working with what you had.
Yes.
Based on your first interview with Crystal, those interviews with the children, you mentioned that the FBI was assisting. What was your next step?
Once I had received information from Aaliyah that there was multiple kids inside the home, we went back and let her and continued our interview with her. Her initial statements was just her. I know his name is Cedric Jackson. I always call him Junior.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is hearsay. So thanks.
Are you making an objection?
Yes.
Sustained as to hearsay.
Without getting into what specifically people told you, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You understood initially that it was supposed to be who was out.
Initially, it was supposed to be Crystal, our complainant, and Aaliyah.
But through these interviews, that's when you learned that wasn't true.
Yes, that's exactly what I learned.
And that's when you learned that you needed to get the rest of those kids in for an interview.
Yes.
So as a result of all of that, those kids interviews and your first interview with Crystal, what was your next step?
My next step was to finish interviewing Crystal. Once we identified that there was another adult in the home, we wanted to interview him as well.
When were you made aware that there was another adult in?
We were made aware that there was another adult in the home. I want to say around 2:30 when we could interview the first child, which was Aaliyah, and after we confirmed it with some other interviews with the kids later throughout the evening. And once we confirmed it with Crystal, I want to say it was around 7:8.
So it first gets mentioned with Aaliyah.
Yes.
It continues to get mentioned and confirmed with Crystal.
Yes.
Is that the point in time where you're like, I need to talk to this person?
Yes.
At that point, did you know the whereabouts of that individual?
No, we didn't know the exact whereabouts of him.
And who was that individual?
That would be Cedric Johnson, I'm sorry.
Does he have a middle name?
I believe he's Junior.
Not the kid. I'm talking about the adult in the home.
If he has a middle name, I just know Cedric spelled with an S.
Okay. May I approach?
You may.
So I'm just showing your offense report.
Yeah.
Just because all the same names, and I'm saying he and her a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to be really clear, and I don't think I'm being clear, and I'm not setting you up for success. So let me be more clear, and let me make sure you have all the names.
Yeah.
So specifically, who is the adult, the other adult besides Crystal Jackson that you believe you now need to talk to based on Aaliyah's first mentioning, he being continued to mention, and then Crystal confirming he was in fact in the home that night?
Yeah, that would be Cedric Deshaun Johnson.
Okay.
That document be marked and identified for the record and also for record purposes?
You'll have your opportunity on cross-examination.
It's just that it was offered to refresh his memory. I think that the record needs to have it.
Well, she identified it as his police report, I believe.
Yes, sir.
You may proceed. Overruled.
So Cedric Deshaun Johnson is who you now know you need to look for.
Yes.
Do you become aware of his whereabouts?
We become aware about his whereabouts. I believe he was at headquarters where the initial investigation started.
Where the initial investigation happened or started?
Yes.
Because that's where he was.
Yes.
Okay. So all the detectives and everybody who went out initially, that's where their offices are.
Yes.
Okay. So you learned that Cedric Deshaun Johnson is at headquarters.
Yes.
What do you do with that information?
We relay that information to the youth department, and we ask some detectives to bring him to our location so that we can interview him.
Was he the only one at headquarters affiliated with this case?
No, they had several family members from both sides of the family, from Mr. Johnson's side and Mrs. Jackson's side.
Do you recall the names of any of those individuals who are at headquarters?
I believe there was Christine Jackson, the mother of Crystal. There was also the father of our complainant. His name was Cedric Jackson as well.
So at headquarters, you know there's Cedric Johnson and Cedric Jackson.
Yes.
And you asked for Cedric Johnson to be brought over
Yes.
to the Advocacy Center so you can talk to him.
Yes.
Did that happen?
It did not happen. Based on the names, we was having a hard time trying to figure out who was who, and that did cause a delay in the process. When we asked for Cedric Johnson, the detective brought Cedric Jackson to the DCA, and that's it to this day, it still causes Mulder to be. I apologize for that. So that was a huge delay.
So you asked for the defendant to be brought to you, the kid's father is who's brought to you, CJ's dad.
Yes.
And so then when that happens, you're like, what do you do?
At that point, we asked for them to bring him again, but we just decided to go to the youth center and interview him there.
But waiting on him to be brought, we're just going to go ahead.
Yes.
Before you made it to headquarters, did you speak with Crystal again?
No, I don't believe I spoke with her anymore.
But was she still having an interaction with law enforcement?
Yes. In between the time 4 or 5 p.m. that afternoon, we had talked to Crystal a little bit, and then after we confirmed there was additional people at home, we kept talking to her, and at some point in the interview, she agreed to do a polygraph test, or a polygraph test with the FBI. Now, we did follow up and talk with her a little bit after that, I believe.
But while you're heading to headquarters, is the polygraph happening, or has it already happened and concluded before you go to headquarters?
I'm sorry, the polygraph test did happen before we went to headquarters.
Was that another reason for your delay in making it over to headquarters?
Yes.
So you do in fact go over to headquarters,
Yes.
and when you get there, the defendant is there. Is that correct?
Correct.
To your knowledge,
At this point, I would bring my first objection as it relates to info.
As it relates to what?
Any information going forward, any other further testimony or evidence going forward. The very first objection for this morning.
Overruled.
when you arrived at headquarters, what was your understanding of how long Cedric Johnson, the defendant, had been at headquarters?
At this point, I believe my understanding at that time is that he had been there for a while.
Hours?
Yes.
I mean, lots of hours.
Yes.
And given that this offense was a long time coming, it had been investigated by a lot of people, had he been talked to by other people to your knowledge?
Yes.
Did those other people have interactions with him and ultimately, to your knowledge, put him in custody?
Yes.
Tell us what you know about that.
My understanding is that he initially talked with detectives, and once we kind of got our story together at the DCAC, we were really pressing to talk to him. As detectives, we really wanted to talk to him. And at that point, when we started, but since we've had so much information to try to continue working on this case, my understanding is that he wanted to leave, and that's when they ran his name. He had some warrants, so they placed him on hold for his warrants. And at that point, he couldn't leave until we finished our investigation.
Those warrants were tickets?
Yes.
Nothing huge?
No.
But warrants nonetheless?
Yes.
And was this discussed with him, to your knowledge?
No.
When he was placed in custody, he had previously been in an interview room, is that correct?
Yes.
He was outside of that interview room.
I believe so.
You had an opportunity to review it, right?
Yes.
Before he came back into that interview room, there's a conversation that happened outside, is that correct?
Yes.
Tell us the nature of that conversation.
When I reviewed the case, mind you, at this time I was not there, but once I reviewed the video and I can hear the audio, it sounds as if Mr. Johnson was very concerned about his kids. That was the main thing that I was getting, that he was concerned about his kids' whereabouts, and how long this process was going to take.
Did he express concern that he couldn't talk to his kids or get to his kids?
Yes, he did express concerns about that.
In what way?
I believe he informed the detective that he just wanted to talk to his kids and see if they was okay.
And then, did he say that he needed anything because he was concerned about his children?
I would object to speculation at that point.
Rephrase your question. Sustained.
I guess I'll just be blunt. Did he inquire about a lawyer in that conversation?
Yeah, I believe he said a lawyer regarding his kids.
As you were reviewing it, that was your understanding or your impression was the conversation was solely about his kids.
Yes.
Do you recall approximately what time of the day this all occurred?
Based on that, I believe that was around anywhere from 9. That was between the hours of 8 to 12, 8 p.m. to 12 a.m. that night.
Because he's at headquarters about 2:30.
Yes.
And you get there after midnight.
Yes.
But this conversation happens about 2.5 hours after he's there. Is that right?
Yes, when they initially started talking.
Okay. So that puts that conversation we're talking about in the hallway at about 5 p.m. Does that jive with what you know from the interviews and all your investigation?
Yes.
So at about 5 is when we're having this conversation.
Yes.
He is, anyways. At 5, were you aware or had you confirmed that he was even present at the apartment at that point?
No.
You confirmed that about what time of day?
That was confirmed. We confirmed it after we listened to all the kids' interviews, and we had a solid understanding around 7.
So several hours later.
Yes. I want to say 7 p.m., but it was later.
So when this conversation is occurring in this hallway, it is strictly, to your understanding, was what you've heard, that it's about the kids.
Yes.
His kids.
Yes.
Not about any criminal acts that the defendant may have committed.
No.
Not about any investigation into him.
No.
He then remains in that room.
Yes.
Until you get there.
Yes.
And you get there approximately 8 hours, a little over 8 hours after he's put into the room. Is that correct?
Yes.
So mapping puts us at.
We spent there 5, 8. I want to say 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, 2 a.m.
More like 10:30. Does that sound right? Or do you think it's later than that?
When I talked to him,
Uh-huh.
no, I didn't talk to him until after it was. I know the date has changed. It was July 10th, 2019. Now it's July 11th.
Okay.
At
Okay.
2 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. When you talk to him, do you introduce yourself?
Yes.
Do you advise him of his rights?
Yes.
Do you advise him that he has the right to an attorney?
Yes, I do.
Do you advise him that he has the right to remain silent?
Yes.
That anything he said could be used against him?
Yes.
Right to have any attorney prior to and during any questioning?
Yes.
That he has the right to have an attorney appointed to advise him prior to and during any questioning?
Yes.
And the right to terminate the interview at any time?
Yes.
Did he understood each of these rights?
Yes.
How did you know he understood?
I know he understood. I gave him a card to read along with me as I read them out loud, and he also initialed that card.
Did he agree? Did he indicate that he understood verbally as well?
Yes.
And did he agree to speak?
Yes.
And was that conversation recorded?
Yes, it was.
And virtually?
You may.
I'm sorry, Sergeant, I'm gonna show you what I marked as State's Exhibit 26 and ask you if you recognize that. And what is that?
The flash drive.
Do you know what is contained on that flash drive?
Yes, it should contain the interview with the defendant.
How do you know that's one and the same as what's on that flash drive?
Because I also reviewed it and I initiated with my bachelor.
Does this, the interview on this flash drive fairly and accurately represent Mr. Johnson's interaction both with law enforcement at headquarters and specifically your interview on July 10th to July 11th of 2019?
Yes.
Now we got for State's 26.
For all purposes, right?
For all purposes.
No.
All right, State's Exhibit number 26 is.
I renew my objections to this, subject to my objections.
All right, so, well, it's you either are objecting or not objecting.
I am objecting.
Overruled.
Remember the exhibit?
I'm sorry? Yes, it is admitted for all purposes.
Permission to publish?
Yes.
Detective, at this time, looking at the screen, approximately 8:09 into the video, what do we see?
This appears to be an interview room at the youth department.
Is there an individual in that room?
Yes.
Uh,
I believe the individual is Cedric Johnson.
And where is he?
He's underneath the desk.
Would you like for me to turn the lights up, dim the lights a little bit?
Now, you met Cedric Johnson that day, is that correct?
Yes.
Do you see Cedric Deshaun Johnson in his courtroom today?
Yes.
Can you point to him and identify something he's wearing?
Yes, he's wearing a blazer with a blue shirt and a dark tie.
Criminal record of what this witness has identified the defendant in the court.
The record will so reflect.
Detective, with the court's permission, I was moving forward with you enter the room. Does that seem okay?
Yes. I kind of really don't know exactly what was going on with everything. I'm very sorry about kind of words and things. And before we begin, I kind of want to talk to you about some of those things. But before we begin, I'll be honest with you, I heard it's like 470 out there. One kind of name that work, things like that. Okay. Been a long day, huh? You say your first name for me? S-E-D-R-I-C-K. And your last name? Johnson. Okay. J-O-H-N-S. And you say it right now? What's your current application? 72143. 72143. The apartment. That's a house. Well, man. I didn't get an apartment. We don't have a road. You know, what they do, 75, 75, and you say you live at apartments, you live at Crystals. Crystals, is it Jackson? What's that apartment down there, right? 116, wider, not yourself. You know, you said 747, like it. Lane Drive, wider drive. Okay. All right, so, I know you spoke to this people here. I'm not gonna, try to move it with anything. There are some things that I've been made aware of. I do have some questions, and I ask you before we begin. I do have to be correct. I'm not gonna say my own truth, but I will say, where it's pointing out where, we have a child that you don't know what child is. Or we don't have a child. Might be able to if you have anything that you want to share, now that time. I just want to be okay. So, what is the right side? Have you seen this before? Oh, yeah. You seen it before? What I have 2 parts. Okay. Can you read? Mm-hmm. All right. Sorry, we're going to start it on the one. Read out loud, okay? Mm-hmm. You have the right to remain silent and not make any statement at all. And your statement you make that you get you at your trial. And the statement number 2. And the statement you may use as evidence to get you in court. Or number 3, you have the right to have the lawyer's presence to advise you prior to answering the question. Number 4, if you are unable to afford the lawyer, you have the right to have the lawyer appointed to advise you prior to answering any question. And number 5, you have the right to terminate the hearing at any time. 6, do you understand the right to operate to? Mm-hmm. And are you willing to talk to? Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see if it's still. You put on there, just put your initials there. And I tell you the date. You go with them? Yeah. You like that? Yeah. So like I was saying, too, there are some things I've been made, that's about my attention and my ability at this point. I want to take the opportunity to kind of tell you, kind of say what's been going on. And then just begin with, let's see, since Thursday, what happened Tuesday was you, and Tuesday was the George Wood. No, it was 9. Technically, let's say that is still Wednesday. So we just went to Thursday. What happened yesterday I know Crystal went to work, and you watch it on kids, right? Yeah. So you can start that morning. Yeah. No, I get some water. Yeah, I used to. Yeah. Crystal, she had to work. She was working. We had a back where I watched the kids. She got to work. And she was supposed to, be kind of taking off from work, but we couldn't. So I had to watch the kids. And, that's why they told the detectives before that I was in my grandma's house, that I was in my grandma's house. Yeah, that's what you say, right? Yeah. And that's something that was learned. And she told me why. She said you just got to show. No. She went home? No. She still talking. Okay. Now, my understanding is you did just get custody of the girls. In a true boy, you the boy. Okay. So I know Tuesday you watching it. Now Monday, were you at the house when CPS came? Monday? You talking about Tamika? Yeah. You said that then. So the meeting next one? I didn't talk to her. She already know. She already, they had it in her mama house. Yeah, they had it in her mama house. That's what they were supposed to do, yeah, but they was in her mama house. Was trying to go. But she been having another apartment for at least a year, I know, at least a year. So, after I get on talking to you, watch something able to see for a second. You said what? I said, after I get on talking to you, what I could be able to see her for a second. When you say see her for a second, see her now. No, I'm not gonna lie to you. Okay, no, I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. So, is my kids still being interviewed? Nah, kids, yeah, we was already talking about the kids. I got all that statement. So, where are they? The kids still in CPS, right? Y'all can do something with my grandma? No. No. But I'm not gonna lie to you. Well, can you tell me why? I need to know what you want. And what I'm getting is I don't know what that is. Nobody's trying to help me. Everybody's worrying about the kids. Nobody. I just want to. Okay. So, well, I had nothing that happened to me I had. Okay. Yeah. So, because I know Monday. I mean, if the kids, I know Monday. She been saying everything was fine. That they saw between everything. And it been like Monday and Tuesday. We all, when she went to work, you watch the kids, everything was fine. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, what time did she get home, according to you, Tuesday? She got up for work at 3 o'clock. She got home about 4. I keep up my grandma house because that everything that happened on the porch in the bed. My grandma wanted me to stay close. Mm-hmm. I had to use her car. My grandma's car. Mm-hmm. And, so when she got home, when you already, I had been home. I never went over. Yeah. So my mom, the days prior, I had been taking her where she had to go and everything like that. Mm-hmm. But that day she was like, make sure you return my car because, I don't want to be a hostage because of you. Yeah. So I said, okay. Now, you is her. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, so you is my dad. Is your dad dad? Okay. Okay. Go ahead. So you came home? Yeah. We talked for a little bit. We did some gas money. Mm-hmm. So I told I had told her my grandma. I had also went shopping.
going to the store. So I did leave. I went to Walmart with the kids. I took all the kids to Walmart. Went shopping. I got some stuff. I had brought it back to the house. Because like I said, she was going to come over anyway. So Crystal got the stuff. She went over there. She got there. She got sold till she and then I was like, okay. She came back home. And it was just like whatever day. I was trying to game.
Yeah. X wasn't, what type of game? Xbox.
Okay. She was watching TV. And it was just like a little bit. It was, I don't know, the day.
What y'all used to do? Like, I know we heard it first. Was it shift? Was it something else? I don't think like that.
And the kids had it, hot dog.
Yeah.
They had hot dog. We had 2 corn dogs. And popped that into the peanut butter.
Now we said Junior, or you talking about, I'm talking about today. Okay, now said it Junior, same, these names spell like yours, right? Even then, Junior is spelled with C. Okay. So he had some hot dogs,
We had some hot dogs. They ate hot dogs. They had corn dogs.
Okay, yeah.
So after that,
About what time is it?
I got the Amazon 5:30 and started picking it for dinner and it goes to back to work and they it's corn dogs. So about 6:30, 6:30.
6:30.
And that's my best so with the kids.
Okay,
He got started with it and he had corn dogs.
okay, yeah, so
I mean, he just put it in the microwave.
you made them for the kids and then she made them for you and her. Okay. So what y'all do after that? After the kids back there and everybody, back to school and class and everything.
I was watching Raven Academy on the phone. Chris was watching Little Women. Dad was on my phone.
Little woman down.
So she
What was the kids doing?
when I say they watch on the tablet, they watch on the tablet. It was watching a movie.
Now, what about all the kids and everyone?
No, Junior would say in there with us. We had a bed, and then most of the time, I was, like I said, being this corn dog, he was going through it, got the, he was laying and everything. So,
Now, you walk around.
yeah, well, it was right one of them where Leah had the room where she got it from him. And so we did,
When we say Leah, is that a Layla?
Leah.
Leah.
Okay. Yeah, okay, so she got one line from Junior, and then it was this thing with her and DJ about the business and I guess the mom saying this and saying that and this and that. So that was DJ. Junior's mom, Lysandra.
Oh, yeah.
That's what they call me.
Yeah.
So, and then, like it's a little thing to where he was just hanging along with us.
Yeah.
Crystal would come in,
Y'all kept them separate from us kids.
Most of them try to have them eat together sometimes and stuff like that, but he's a baby, so they probably kids sitting down and watch the TV, he's walking around. If I was just slower, he was walking around. So my grandma, she playing with him walking around.
Now, just to be clarified, I know the kids, I know we have Serenity, Aliana, Cedric, Lasagna, King, and Harmony, and Leah. Okay. And they were all in their room on the tablet watching TV. At any point, were they doing something that caused them not to go to sleep a little earlier?
Well, like I said, it's probably something I didn't quite watch the TV, and it was Like I said, I don't know exactly what it was. I was investigating our parents, supposed to let me get out the game.
So you got back on the game after the White House.
Yeah, I was playing the game.
No, I know, I'm having cut off. I just want to make sure I'm correct. But you say you watched Grey's Anatomy, and at some point did you start playing the game?
No, I was doing both. Like I said, I was watching Grey's Anatomy on my phone.
Yeah.
So I just set the phone and then we got the TV. So I was playing the game. Watching Grey's Anatomy. Madden.
Oh, okay. Were you playing online or just?
No, I was just playing.
Just CPU?
Yeah, I let myself the junior and like King before that.
Oh, okay.
So I just got online and just bullshit.
Okay. So you playing Madden while you watching Grey's Anatomy? Okay. About what time would the kids on to go to sleep?
I've been up 8:30 now, bro.
8:39.
I mean, I didn't work in the then you can watch 2 movies. I forgot what the first movie was, but the second movie was Instant Family. Mark Wahlberg. So they, matter of fact, that was the first movie. And then they got to the second movie. And finally, I guess she went in her way, somebody else was trying to find him. I said, just go big. And then he would start fighting. And so I was like, okay, you know, y'all going to go big. That was in that day, sleep.
So after they went to sleep, what were you, Crystal, and Junior?
Down. He was laying down. He was trying to see if he got up on the other night. And there was like some water ketchup packets that I had put up. And he got up and go to the mall. Well, that wasn't that night for it was just like, so I was swallowing him.
Oh, okay.
I was swallowing. And I swallowed another, trying to run home. He was crying. Because, you know, I guess he was supposed to pick him up. So I had to run him down. And he was just crying. Then my mama called me.
Now, you say you swallowed him. What did you swallow him?
One of the blankets, like, the kids sleep on to a futon. And Harmony, King, well, not Harmony, Serenity, probably and Aaliyah had a sleeping bag. Junior had a sleeping bag. King had a blanket, and that's like the blanket we had in my old bed, and stuff like that. So we just swallowed up in that, and then, you know, we do just calm us down.
When you swallowed him, in the blanket, what would you get when you put him down?
It was like, we have a bed, and then he sleeps right in front of the bed.
Right in front of the bed?
Yeah.
Is that on the bed or on the floor?
It's on the floor. Because if you have me and Kristen in the bed, you don't have to go because we don't have much.
You try to bed on the floor. I say that's on your feet, without your hands. About what time was he wrapped up when he come to
Yeah, we can tell Clark, you know,
you later on the pillow? You say later on the pillow? Like you said, you and Chris were talking right at the time?
Right. Yeah, just, you know, just feel like, okay, and forth. You know, when you start the game, so my mom called me, she tell me that around 10:30 or so, down there, well, dang, sorry. And, you said that Carter was It's my dad's son, my brother.
Okay.
And came to the door, asked me for the cell phone in my grandma's house. My grandma was telling me that he couldn't come without the police. My dad was up there in the car with the lights. So she was like, I really need my phone. And she was like, you gotta come to the police.
Now, this your brother asking for his phone?
Yeah, this is at my grandma's house.
Yeah.
And I was in wait until she called.
Okay. Go ahead. What happened?
And then after that, she was on the phone. She was telling me how she talked to her brother. And how her brother was like, talking about me and talking about Carol and energy, like he wasn't no good. I was just telling him, I think that he got that started in the right place and just trying to help you. Because if the situation passed, there was some abuse, there was some power in my father at the time. And she had been assaulted. He had been arrested, and she was supposed to be protected. When I told her that he was protected, she brought up here. I mean, she was up there. You know, she kind of played light, and then eventually she got sick. And she eventually came. I mean, let her get in the house. So it's kind of like that tension, you know, before that. And then July 4th, it kind of kicked off again. And the 5th, she got abused. So between the 5th and the 9th, I was taken up to the police department because she had a court date coming on the 25th. Calling the police officer about the bruises on the face. And just like I said, man, she was good.
So, your mom lives with your grandma?
My mom,
Yeah.
my dad, I don't know, my man had nothing to do with this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your dad?
Harold is my dad. He has a son, Donovan, and Justice. Their mom is Elizabeth. My mom name is Samantha. We don't have the same one. They're like 10 and 11.
Okay, so,
Well, he's 11. Justice, the younger brother, is the 10.
So Donovan and Justice came to your mother's house?
Mm-hmm.
And your mother lives
No, my grandmother. There is my grandmother. The 7214 was exaggerate. So my grandmother, yeah. My grandmother.
and
Carol's mom.
okay, and she
And
lives
I'm his son.
yeah, but I'm saying that she lives with that?
No, she says in the
This is
that's the
Oh, okay.
And he was saying that when I at that time, like I said, she was in the process of trying to get him addicted, which is why when he came, when Donovan came and he was in the car, and DC's trying to get his phone, or Donovan, that's what we call him, DC, trying to get his phone, she told him, no, you gotta come back from me.
Okay, so Mary Johnson, your grandma, who is the mother of Harold Johnson, had 2 sons, Donovan and Justice. And they came to, of course, your grandma.
Mm-hmm.
They called you around 10.
She called me.
And
She called.
Yeah.
I never had no contact with her or during that time.
Yeah.
She called, told me about that situation.
That they came over for themselves.
Right. Not asking to look for herself.
Yeah.
And she never opened the door. She just said, you gotta come back with the police.
Okay. Now, where did your mom come to this?
My mom doesn't come with this.
When you was telling me that, you was telling me July 4th.
Oh, yeah, at my grandma's house.
Oh, so it happened to grandma.
Yeah, it's his mom. She raised me, so, you know what I mean? Like, Harold's my dad.
Yeah, I get that.
And Mary's his mom.
But your mom was over there too?
No, my mom wasn't over there. Just my grandma.
Well, who was getting these from for?
My grandma.
By her?
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, I thought it was
No, I told her that she had 2 AS, like CPS, but for the elderly, she had 2 cases.
No, so, right, you just run on.
Yeah,
6 months.
yeah.
Okay. That is funny. So that's why she was like, I'm getting coming in there. She got police already.
Oh, yeah, and there was DC came to the door night because she hadn't had any contact with him.
Gotcha.
That's an incident.
Okay. So she was telling you about that. You just kind of give me the background on acting on July.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So after the phone call, you know what happened next?
After the phone call, Crystal was asleep. She fell asleep, dreamed on the floor, and I was like playing a game. I was passed on the ground, and I was in cigarette, and I put the touch my leg. I stayed. I left out the house, and I went to go get some cigarettes and some more cigars, and Crystal always stepped me out the door. So I leave. Like that, she called me, and she's like, where you at? And I told her, I lied and I said I was outside. When I was good, I was kind of doing it. And she was like, oh, I had everything outside. So, carried it hard, like, walked up, and she's like, what's your baby? She woke up and she said, what's your baby? I was supposed to stop him. She went down, and we used to write this time like her hand. She's in a panic.
What time?
I'm sorry, Miss Burris. I'm having a very difficult time hearing this. Can you please
Close to
pause?
3 or 4. And what it was pretty much for I helped her look.
And rewind, and then use the microphone there on your table to get it closer to your.
I turned it down because it's so loud in the beginning. All right, I'll turn it
All right, thank you.
down. Is a 40-second rewind or longer?
Well, I think that's fine.
It doesn't like being rewound and fast forward.
No, it doesn't.
It was like,
I rewound to 8:39:31.
so hurried up, parked, like the cigarette, walk up, and she's like, what's the baby? She woke up and she said, what's the baby? And I said, what's the stop man? She went down, and we used to write this kind of like her pen. She's in a panic right now.
What time?
It was like close to 3 or 4. And what it was pretty much for I helped her look. We went to the trash can. We went to the car. She checked the car. We was walking around and we panicked. We panicked. And then I was telling her I didn't want it to happen to her. Like, I don't want it to happen to you. She's like, I'm gonna go to jail. And I was like, but you said you ain't do nothing. She said, no, I ain't do nothing. I ain't do nothing. And she's like, I'm gonna have to call my mom and I'll be able to go, hey. And she was like, I can't be here. So I get up, we get up, and we wake the kids up. And I'm asking Julia what happened. And I'm asking Randy what happened, and he said she saw a man. And
You said man as in Serena?
yeah, she said she saw a man. And then Leah said she saw you. That's what she said.
Who?
Aaliyah.
Aaliyah?
Yeah. Nobody told her to say that. Nobody coached her to say that.
Nobody coached?
No. So we going back and forth between the room and just trying to line everything up. So about 5:30, we gotta do something. So she called him. I called my grandma. I called my grandma and I asked her what was wrong. I called my grandma, I asked her what it was wrong because I ain't had it. Chris to get on the phone and I asked her not to call because I'm like, if he got it or whatever the case may be, then ain't no telling what he gonna do when he got to go to a corner. Again, I don't know what's going on. All I know is when I left, there was no problem. But I never locked the door. Because if I lock the door, when I'm opening the door back up, I'm either gonna wake her up, I'm gonna wake the kids up. So,
So was the door?
the door it wasn't like wide open, but you could open it.
When you say open now, I can open it.
You could just open the door. Like, I just,
Like
closed it, like, when you know, like, it was closed.
Yeah.
Like, hold on, you go with it and then you go like that. You know what I'm saying? That way when you open it, you just open it up. Like, the only time you're gonna pay, you just close it instead of going like this, leaving it, and then coming back.
Okay. Alright, so let me just recap this. So about what? So did you leave the house around 4 o'clock?
Yeah, I left.
To go get cigarettes and stuff?
I wanted to go get her a pack of cigarettes. They have a cigarette store where you can get singles. They closed at 12. So then I had to, I used $5 split it in crystal gas, so I was like, I got a cool cigarettes.
Okay, what store?
Quick Trip.
Quick Trip near Wyman?
Yeah.
Okay. You say you got a pack of what?
Clothes.
Okay.
So long story short, she called my mom. And she told my mom, like, she don't know where the baby is. She was in hell and stuff like that. And she told me to leave. So I took the kids, everybody but Leah, and I left. No, it was my mom. And we sit over there. And Molly, yeah, and we sit over there. But so my grandma what happened, and I was calling Crystal. And they told me they was going to Elizabeth's house. And, well, when I first went to her and my mom was searching around the apartments too.
What's your, what's phone? You got a phone?
972.
That's very right.
972. 272.
272.
2863.
2863. Okay. And grandmother is here. So you took all the kids besides Aaliyah? They went there and you said you told her what happened.
What time? I had told her that.
What time did you get there?
Around 6.
What time did you leave?
When Crystal comes back from just the police called her disease hours.
You said who?
Elizabeth, Dominique's mom. Elizabeth Carter, Dominic Carter's mom, Harold's son.
Yeah.
The mother of his children. That's where he was at because he couldn't get my house. But that's where we thought he was at. So the police followed her to Harold's house.
Alright.
I'm guessing a little bit after 6 or so. And I was on the phone with her. So I was on speakerphone listening to what was going on. They get done with that. They come back to the house. They ask me questions. They're asking the weird questions. And then when she said she's on her way back to the house from Elizabeth, I told her I'm coming. And then she told me don't come. I was like, I'm coming. So I pulled up. I come and everybody's outside. It's so like everybody's outside. And then everybody asking me these questions because they told her that she saw my daddy walk out the house. So everybody's asking me questions. And my grandma is telling me like he wouldn't do nothing like this, and it don't sound right, and all this other stuff.
So did Leah tell y'all that she saw him?
Right, that's the truth. When we opened up, they were asleep. Cedric on the floor. I heard he was going.
Tell me exactly what it is. Yeah, I asked.
She woke up. She was on the couch. She got up. The first person I asked was Savannah. I said, "Did you see something?" She said, "I ain't really see nothing. I think I saw a man leave out the house." She didn't say nothing about nothing. It was man, got a hand, nothing like that. And she said, "I heard the baby crying, but then he stopped crying." Leah said that she saw Julie walk out the house with the ex-wives. And that was it. We kept asking her, like, "Are you sure?" And after we would ask her.
So Leah said she saw Julie, which is her, walk out with the ex-wife. Yes. Okay. And you heard her say it.
Just what it is, I heard her say it. We all was in the labor room, Chris was in a panic, but we got to ask the kid, we asked the kid what happened. So we didn't see nothing. King was sleeping, and then Harvey was squished in between Serene and Cedric.
At what time was this?
This was like, it's in the wee hours, so it was between like 4 and 5.
4 and 5?
Yeah. Like, initially went, like, we found out that he ain't there. And, like I said, we just playing for the words.
Yeah.
She's talking about, she know what's going on, we're going to be offering. She called private, and they talked for like 10-15 minutes. And he's like, it was on speakerphone, so I don't know, I can't lie about the details of the conversation. But she was saying something real valuable. Got taken from my house, somebody working in the house and took it. And he's like, well, then, hey, I don't know about that. He was saying he was somewhere else. He gave her a location of where he was at. Then, when I bring it to my grandma, she tells me he's in Wichita Falls for a job. And Jasmine, Z's sister, took him down.
Did he say anything else?
On the phone with Crystal or on the phone with Crystal? Not, like I said, the phone was on speaker. That's the conversation today. It was like, I just heard her talk like, it's something real bad.
What did you hear her say?
It's something real bad. Missing from my house.
Something bad missing.
Somebody came in here while I was asleep and took him. And took something out the house. So she never clarified that it was a baby. She never clarified none of that. I had called my grandma, like I said, before I went over there and told her what happened. She knew that somebody came from the house and took the eggs out. I didn't tell her nothing because I knew once I said something.
You said you told your grandma that?
Yeah.
Okay. Because you called grandma first.
Yeah.
How many times you called her?
I called her once. Then my phone died, and she called me on the 972-341-4449 number, and I didn't answer.
So if you call grandma once, phone died. Oh, I can't write no more. Call grandma once, your phone died. And then she called you back.
Yeah, she called me back on another number because like I said, that
What's the other number you talking about?
my son's cell phone. Like all the kids got tablets, all the kids got phones. So when she couldn't reach me, that she called that number
Where's the son's cell phone, man?
in the car.
In which car?
Corey's car.
Who's court?
Crystal Road. The one who brought us up there. This in a place the second of the seat with another body in the car and my body.
Okay. And what's that phone number?
972-341.
972-341-444-449. Okay, so she called you back and you was like, hey, somebody do something about it.
Well, I called her initially.
Yeah.
And when I called her, I understood. I told her about the Xbox. And then somebody broke into the house. I told her the kids were saying that the girl did it and I don't know his number. She said, I don't know, but she gave it to him. I gave her, like, while she's with me, that I'm on the phone, but she's put it into my phone and called me private. They had that conversation. And then after that, this thing about she already had a CPS case. There was already a CPS case in place because of him, because of Jimmy. CPS had just contacted me the day before because my grandma believed Carol called them after the incident on the 4th. So I had met with 2 CPS workers. They asked me to take a drug test. I told them, okay. Another one they called, like he was still when they called, and all that. Right, so I think it was that Monday.
Monday.
Yeah, that Monday.
CPS, he got in touch, they got with the new CPS.
Yeah, I didn't meet him. I never met him. Like I was saying, like we was lying before about, where whose house is which and all that. So when they go to her mama's house, it's just her mama, Cedric, and Crystal. Sometimes, I guess, her mama comes, I don't know. But it was a new CPS caseworker. So they went over there. I had my dealings with CPS early in the day, when I was in my grandma's house. I had took my grandma to the Dollar Tree with the kid. I had the kids, the baby, and the kids. CPS called and they said they had stopped by the apartment and they was trying to get in touch with me. So I went and I told them to meet me at my grandma's house. We met at my grandma's house.
What time Monday?
It was in the afternoon. Because Crystal was at work. I called her and I told her what was going on. And it was like a state of panic because we don't know what he said. All I know is when she came was his grandmother. She called me the day while I was here, asking.
So going back to Monday at 12 o'clock, Crystal didn't work right.
Yeah.
So you got the kid.
Yes.
And who called you?
CPS.
And where did you meet them at?
My grandmother's house.
Your grandmother's house in Mulder?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm talking to her and about just regular information. She said she wants to talk to the kids about themselves one-on-one. Okay. While we in the house, or while I'm outside the house, and then catch the kid a little bit, like trying to take my mind off of it, like trying to figure out like what's going on. And another CPS worker called Rashana Jones, and she's like, she was looking to get in touch with me. She went to the 9747 by her address. Nobody was there. And I told her, well, there's another CPS worker here. So I'm not really understanding why 2 different people are trying to get in contact with me. She explains that she's my caseworker about allegations against me that were made. And the Hispanic lady who came, who was already in the house, was there because of accusations against her. And she was just trying to get there for my story and interview the kids one by one. So let me stop for a second.
Why do you think I'm here talking to you? No. You remember I told you I was in prison? That's why.
Okay.
You tell me a lot of I see. I know about CBS.
Okay.
I did that. I understand that he has some issues with his dad. I understand that you not believe he called CBS. I get that. What I'm trying to understand is what happened to you tonight. And based on what you tell me, at 10:30, everything kind of shut down, everybody sleep, you swallowed your glass. For the bed, when the girl got there, talked a little bit, she fell asleep.
I was on the phone.
While you on the girl, and then you left to go get some cigarettes. And what time did you leave?
It was a little bit after 1, so it was a little after 1.
Let me ask you one. How long did you get back home?
Around 2 or so.
Around 2 or so? And so, when you left around 1 something to get cigarettes, you came back around 2 something. What happened
And Chris was trying to figure out what was going on with the baby.
Okay.
Like I said, the first thing was we never even went into the house. When she's asking about the baby, searched everywhere. My kitchen with the trash, behind the truck. She looked in her car. She looked in my grandma's car.
Now, the reason why I keep going back to, I know you left the house and you came back. Your time has changed. You are aware of that, right? Why your time changed?
Like I said, it was all a fog, and it went from panic, like we've been getting in trouble, to I have to take the kids out of this. So me and Crystal was like, well, Leah's saying this. So that's my whole thing is it's as if somebody's trying to say that I'm telling her what to say when I never told her what to say. Or Crystal never told her what to say. So my thing is like how you get past that.
Well, we talked about the kid.
Okay. Now they told they had to say that I mean quote them.
I'm gonna explain how this person talks to kids. I don't talk to kids, my partners don't talk to kids. We have a training profession. They talk to kids. Okay? We talk to all of them. Now, I couldn't help but notice, I asked you, what kind of happened. You went from, 4 o'clock you left, came back, 5 down, searching, 6, you left the house. And kind of went back to, I think you started with 3 or 4, then you went 4 to 5, then you went back to 1 or 2. Okay. And I told you, I am aware of some things that happened. I want to get the opportunity to talk. I'm aware of what I'm aware of what happened. Everything you told me, I kind of already knew. Like CPS hit July 4th, 5th, community dash, scrapping, whatever happened there. About it related to him hitting on his grandma. I was confused on, you said
The detail.
yeah, the people. I thought he was hitting on his wife or something. But it was actually his mom, which is your grandma. I'm aware of all of that. And I told your friend, okay. Your time frame went back. Like I said, it went from 4 to 5, it went back to 1 and 2.
Like I said, everything was kind of hazy. You got a missing baby. You got Chris like hysterical. You got me trying to calm it down and trying to make a situation that can't be right at that time and make it right. So yeah, the times were a little fuzzy, but the actions, like that's what happened. Like the kid, that I never told the kids nothing about what to say or nothing.
Did I ever say?
No, I'm just saying. I know.
Well, listen to me. Did I say you said 17 or something? Did I say it?
No, but nobody did. And I never allowed somebody or helped or assisted somebody tell anybody what to say or accuse somebody of doing anything. I'm not like Crystal wouldn't do that. She wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. I didn't do that.
I said Crystal wouldn't do it.
Yeah, she wouldn't do it.
Can you give us 2 for
I'm not sure I put this. Let me tell you what Liv said. And you said you do not tell any kids, and Crystal didn't tell the kids. Well, that's what you said.
Yes, sir.
Aaliyah said, Mom told me to tell the truth.
Yes.
You have to do this. Tell them that a man came in and took the baby. That's the truth.
That's what she said.
Yeah. So when I read that to you, what does that sound like to you?
When we started talking, you said you wasn't gonna play with me. You was gonna help me, so that's what she said.
I asked you a question. I just read you what Aaliyah said after you told me that.
It sounded like that sounded like somebody trying to steal us. So
That's what she said.
I'm not saying you made it up. I'm just.
So yeah, I didn't know what happened.
She didn't do nothing to him.
I know she did. And here's the thing. I've seen a few cases like this. I think something happened. I think it was accident. But here's the issue. I need to know where he's at so we can prove that it was an accident. If it was an accident, I need to know that. But if I don't know which room he's at, man, I don't know what to do. But I'll be honest with you. Honestly, something happened. And I'm gonna tell you why something happened, because you went from
45 in the morning, back to 1 or 2. Crystal had nothing to do with it. She didn't have it. I didn't have it. I know. But we have to put it on the table. I know. But I didn't do anything. I know. I didn't do anything. I know that you did. I know. But I have to hear it from you. I don't want the kids dealing with this no more. I don't want Crystal getting blamed for this. We just need to know what happened. Okay? It's okay. I understand you're scared, but we have to know what happened. Okay. Okay. He can't make it himself. I just want to. He just started throwing up. And I began and I was okay. I was breathing in his mouth. Oh, no, no, questions. And he started throwing up some more. So I was just not going to start doing his mouth again. Then I like, was a man in this room. And I'm trying to get the stuff out, trying to get the stuff out. Well, no. Well, let's get them. It was like, it was not like some blood. It was like, I want you to come. It was like throwing up. It was like yellow, maybe a little red, but it was like all blood. And I kept breathing in his mouth. But, okay. No, I didn't do anything to him. So, was he, what blanket was he swallowing in blood time? It was just a blanket. A blanket? Yeah. What color? It was tan. Tan, okay. Where, listen. I don't want somebody to get in trouble because he didn't like nobody did nothing. What time was that? You know what time it was? It was like 12 something. Okay. So he's giving CPR. Yeah, 12 something. About 30 minutes. 30, 40 minutes. Okay, here, listen to me. Where is he at now? The faster we can find him, we can see what happens to him. And if that checks out, it checks out. But we have to find him. Because a lot of time has passed. You see what I'm saying? So where is he at now? I'm being That's okay. You being honest? I'm being I had put him in the shower. Ran the water on my face, ran the water, and I was looking for him, and still breathing in his mouth. And his chest was inflamed. Inflamed. He was throwing in on his shit. And I could hear his heart still beating. So still trying to help him. He wasn't there no more. So you gave him CPR in the shower? I started up the CPR in the bedroom. On the floor. He threw up, dude. Well, he threw up. And then when I'm doing it, I'm trying to help if I push on something a little bit. That's what the door started coming out of the pocket and all that. So I keep doing compressions and breathing so you can get it all out. Yeah. But it's still going up. Mm-hmm. I took it to the shower and I go back trying to get up. Like that come up and I try just wasn't scared no more. Okay. And you did CPR and that too. But yeah, so I it was still coming out of it. Still coming out of it. Like one day it was working, it was hard, it was bleeding. So I was scared to do it, it's nothing hard to get. Oh, what the hell, I can't do this one. Okay. Now, after the shower, what did you take? So we can okay. I got a car. Then I put her way back so you don't see. Yes, sir. So you can pass and you see. What do you take? I was going to shop going on. I wanted to see cigarettes, just trying to figure out what I should do. And I thought I'll take them, but I don't know what to tell them. So, I'll hold them how watermelon, watermelon. What's the cross street? There's some apartments right before you get to Ken apartment. Ken. What's the cross number on the hill? Walnut Street. What's the cross street? I like Walnut Street, yeah. The street. Cross Street Supermarket and Plano, but I just kept going down. To the Walnut Street, Plano Road. Yeah. That's in, is that going in a slash out? Is it like right below the Walnut and Plano? If you keep going to Plano, you hit Plano Road before instead of that. Okay, so yeah, that was I'm not really sure. I know back towards Forest Lane, but she was on Walnut Street, and then you hit Plano Road. I was on Walnut and Plano, and I went down Walnut. Okay, I never made it to the next cross street. So you was at Walnut and Plano Road, and then there was trash can. Okay. And you put it in the trash, like what type of trash can? Like a dumpster. What color was the dumpster? Was it full of trash? Yeah, that's right. That's the trash. That's the trash. What I'm going to do, well, I'm going to put this out real quick, okay? Yeah, I'm going to get some water right now. I'm going to pull the water up, because we need to find them, okay? Because I think if we can find them, we can see what happens to them, and they put up a lot of things. I appreciate the honesty, okay? Let me, I tell you what, let me step out real quick, and I'm going to bring the water back on top of the road. I'm going to come back and verify so we can slide, okay? I'll be right back.
Miss Burrows, if you could please pause. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we've been here for about 2 hours. Let's go ahead and take our afternoon break for 10 minutes. All right, you may be seated.
Did facilities misunderstand you and think you said turn the hair warmer?
I know, we just have a lot of people in here. Well, it's 1 degree less. I emailed them while we were doing something. All right, I'll be back.
Oh, no, that's what you go.
I'm gonna see around. Well, the next one. The next one. This one's got. It's almost.
Not today, tomorrow definitely.
All right, thank you. You may be seated. Up and down, up and down. All right, let's bring him back in. What?
Judge, I opened this book.
Oh, thank you.
See, it's right
Yeah,
here.
that was a good idea. Mhm. Well, if you want to shut it, because nobody seems to be doing it. Mhm. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Miss Burris. Mhm. It's going down 73. Okay, they turned it down. Yeah, it's just a lot of bodies creating heat. Hmm? I have mine. You're welcome to take your jacket off. I don't care. We're ready.
Almost.
All right, you may be seated. All right. There we go. You may. Thank you.
Restarting States Exhibit 26 at 9:15:30.
What color? I mean, maybe it was, I know I'm sorry. What color is it?
I guess maybe brown and blue. I can take it.
Okay. Sure. Okay. Good. And then it was an accident. She ended up doing it. I did. I know. That's not what she did. Like, and here's the deal. Nobody's saying that that's what happened, but we have to find it. I think, listen, I think if we find it, we can do all those things. Or they can go inside and see what happens. If you do what, you choke on something, you choke on. Okay? I understand. And I understand, you swallow them a little bit, tie them up, and that's how y'all can food.
roll around getting this stuff at night. That's what I'm doing. I just want y'all to know that because I'm like, I just didn't want to get into nothing. If you maybe you got into something before, so I just want to everything you sleep. Wake him up, see him. I just follow him. And I can't get it into the passion, but it's not working. And it wasn't working. No, I came back. I never, like, because as he talked about, I looked in the car, went up here. Dude, like, I never told Chris that. No, I never did you. What did you tell Chris? I thought I didn't know. I know I didn't know. I thought I was going to take my world. Yeah. No, I knew I was my kids if I didn't try to help them. And here's the deal, that's what she expressed. There was a panic because nobody wanted to do this kid. And nobody and that's what she should be waiting. Especially trying to help. Trying to help us. I just do everything right. I don't know, like, I just got trust again, couldn't do everything right, everything was working. Everything was working. We're going to check on them. I'll be right back, okay?
Detective, at this point, when you step out, what are you doing?
I believe at this point we're trying to figure out how we're going to get everyone down to the location that we're going to drive to.
And you're out of the room for several minutes while y'all are working on that, right?
Yes.
Forward. To 9:20:09. I'm sorry, 9:23.
I know earlier you said that you take someone because we got them on the clock, but we don't want to buy. We don't want to miss the trash or whatnot. But you still going to take the straight home. Okay, I'm going to have some officers come in here. They're all going to put cups on me. That's just our policy, okay? We need you guys to see it, okay? All right? Okay. Cameras available first? Yeah, come on. Within the kind of
Detective, at this point, do you all exit the room, let him use the restroom, and then move to following where he tells you to go?
Yes.
Before we get there, I need to just fix something that I had said earlier. So this video, states exhibit 26, is the entirety of the time that Cedric Deshaun Johnson is in a room at headquarters.
Yes.
But there is a period of time that he is at headquarters that he is not in a room. Correct?
Yes.
Based on the timestamps of the videos. Is that yes?
Yes.
So the time period that we're talking about begins at 2:30, but there is a chunk of time from 3:30 to almost 6 where he is not in the room.
Yes.
So at the close of this interview, he agrees to take you to where he took CJ.
Yes.
And did you actually do that?
Yes.
How does that work? If you've got someone who is in custody and he is leading you to a secondary location, what does that logistically look like?
First, we wanted to get everybody involved as a team. So I'm pretty sure we notified. Crime scene or physical evidence squad. He was put inside the squad car that kind of led us to the location to see what we were doing, and several officers followed behind him, and detectives followed behind him.
Why were there so many people involved?
At this point, we figured he was going to have a large crime scene. He was trying to find a location, so it was best to have as many personnel as we can.
And did he take you to that location?
Yes.
And did he take you in a squad car, you said?
Yes.
And was that squad car equipped with a dash cam?
Yes.
And did that dash cam capture the route that you all took from headquarters to the locations the defendant took you as to where he put things?
Yes.
May I have those witness?
You may.
Detective, I'm going to show you what's marked as State's Exhibit 27 and ask you if you recognize that.
Yes, I would.
And what is that?
This is flash drive in my initial bathroom.
And what does that flash drive contain?
It contains the video evidence of us driving the defendant to the dumpster and the location.
Does it fairly and accurately reflect that journey?
Yes.
Now we got for State's 27.
Single objection, Your Honor.
Overruled. States Exhibit 27, the flash drive of the in-car video, is admitted for all purposes.
Judge, I would also object to relevance of void.
Overruled.
Permission to flash?
You may.
Detective, this is pulling out of Jack Evans' headquarters, is that correct?
Yes.
There we go.
The location you all kind of talked about in the room, there was some confusion whether it was Garland or Dallas. The location he takes you to, is that in Dallas or is that in Garland?
That was right outside Dallas in Garland, Texas.
And is that in Dallas County,
I believe so.
state of Texas?
Yes.
Do you remember approximately how long this ride takes?
We found approximately anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes.
So as they move forward in this video, we're just going to miss seeing the streets of Dallas.
Yes.
Detective, you mentioned that, he is in a squad,
Yes, he's in the backseat of a squad car.
and you mentioned there were several other vehicles.
Yes.
Were they all squads or detective cars?
Most of them were detective cars. I'm pretty sure we might have had, additional, patrol elements. We're looking for most of the cars for squad, deal with the detectives.
So the vehicle stops at approximately 22 minutes and 35 seconds in this video.
Yes.
And where are you?
I believe we're at the 3900 block of West Walnut Street, Garland, Texas.
And is this, the dumpster we see on State's Exhibit 27, is that the dumpster he indicated that he had put CJ in?
Yes.
We can see, I can tell, is that you walking up to the dumpster there?
Yes.
And then it looks like other people, are any of those civilians?
Yes, the gentleman, Sergeant Burns, who was in plain clothes, that's a Dallas police officer.
So even if they're in plain clothes, they are in fact officers?
Yes.
May I approach the witness?
You may.
Sergeant, I'm going to show you what's in Martha State's Exhibit 28. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
And what is that?
This is an aerial review of what the dumpster was located at.
This is that area of West Walnut
Yes.
that he was describing. State Officer States 28.
Same for objection, Conklin.
Overruled, the aerial photo is admitted for all purposes.
Sergeant, we can see you all milling about and looking into the dumpster. What, if anything, do you see?
There was still some trash inside. I think at this point we kind of realized he wasn't there. We were trying to figure out the next steps. And that was identifying the dumpster. Then we get some information from the company, phone calls, what that dumpster was United States.
So you're figuring out when it was last emptied, where it was taken.
Yes.
It appears that that dumpster is at an apartment complex, is that right?
Correct.
The amount of trash that was in that dumpster, did it seem appropriate for the amount of people at the apartment complex, given that you know that there was at least trash in it the previous morning, and that was when CJ was put in there?
No, I think it was pretty low.
So did that give you an indication as to that it had been emptied or had not been emptied since all of this happened?
That possibly had been empty.
And so those phone calls is what we see you and others with phones up to their ear walking around trying to figure out.
Yes.
And were you able to ascertain whether it had been emptied since the previous morning?
Yes.
Nevertheless, crime scene is present and they document the scene, right?
Correct.
Does he then take you to a secondary location?
Correct.
Tell us about that.
The secondary location he took us to was where he told us where he placed his blanket, and that was the blanket he used to swallow out of the blanket. And that location was at 10,200 block of White Elm Street. It was an alley. And he told us
I'm sorry.
I was going to say, he told us he put it inside the blue dumpster.
And do we, after we spend some time here making those phone calls, figuring out what's what with it, does he take us to that?
Yes.
So at 26:29, I'm going to move us forward in time. Beginning back at 58:41. And again, on this ride, as with the previous, he is directing where to go.
Correct.
Now, Sergeant, this appears to be a back alleyway or a residential area.
Correct.
What are y'all doing here, Sergeant?
At this point, I think we're just trying to verify it's correct location. You saw it checking the numbers.
Now, this being a residential alleyway, are there traditional dumpsters like we just saw at the apartment complex?
No, there'll be, your standard trash cans, maybe a blue or green. Some cases, black.
Was the defendant sure about which bin along this alleyway he had put the blanket in?
He wasn't sure about the exact bin, but he knew he put it in the trash can at this end.
And so, is this what we're seeing, is y'all just kind of going from house to house to figure it out?
Correct.
So we can see here 10732, it appears that there are teams that have peeled off at different homes and are looking at their recycling and trash bins that are being accessed.
Correct.
You make an abrupt turn there. Why do you make that abrupt turn?
I'm actually ready to sell a trash can that deep inside the garage. But I'm trying to drive it.
And those people right there that we see on video, that's you, your sergeant, and your lieutenant. Is that correct?
Correct.
Sergeant, do you know what's happening right now?
There's a chance I saw some phones out when we all went back to the search spot. We may have found, but I'm not sure.
But you did find it in this alleyway.
Correct.
We watched you methodically go from, not just you, but a whole team of people, go from bin to bin and look for this phone.
Correct.
How did you know what you were looking for?
Just based on the interview with the defendant, also with witnessing and receiving information from the direct interviews from children, and I believe witness Crystal also confirmed that the blanket was either beige or light colored, and I'm not defending used it. He used the color white.
And did you in fact locate a blanket in the south?
Correct.
And it was behind the house?
Correct.
Do you remember the address of the house?
The address was 10234 White Elm Street, Dallas, Texas.
And it goes to witness?
You may.
Sergeant, I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 29. Do you recognize that? What is that?
This is the early view of the alley at White Elm Road.
That's the alleyway behind the house, right?
Correct.
And is that where the location of this van was?
Correct.
Now we offer State's 29.
Same for rejection.
I recall the defense objections. They are overruled. State's Exhibit 29, the aerial photo of the alleyway is admitted for all purposes.
Whenever you approach the witness.
You may.
Detective, I'm going to show you what's been previously offered and admitted into evidence as State's Exhibit number 9. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
What is that?
This is the apartment location of the plane. At White Elm, 97 White Elm Drive.
Sergeant, I'm now showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 30. What is that?
This exhibit has all three major locations. It's an aerial view of the complainant's location, where the defendant left the complainant inside the dumpster, and also where we located the blanket inside the bin bag.
State's Exhibit 3 encompasses States 9, 28, and 29. Is that correct?
Correct.
That shows the relation between those locations.
Correct.
I'm sorry, Ms. Burris. Did you say State's Exhibit 3 or a different number?
30.
Thank you.
State would offer State's Exhibit 30.
Same for rejection.
The court recalls your objections. They are overruled. State's Exhibit 30, the aerial view of all three locations is admitted for all purposes.
Permission to publish the minutes.
You may. Are you finished with the video? Can I turn all the lights back on? Thank you. There we go. Thank you.
That is State's Exhibit 28. That shows the location of the dumpster that the defendant drove you to that he put CJ in. Is that correct?
Correct.
And State's 29, that is the alleyway that contains the blue bin that contained the blanket that the defendant had wrapped CJ in prior to removing it from the house.
Correct.
and states 30. It shows us where the apartment is, the blue bin, and the dumpster. Is that correct?
Correct.
Kind of gives us an overview of where all these locations were. Right?
Correct.
2 are in Dallas, 1 is in Garland.
Yes.
After leaving the alleyway, where did you return back to your office?
I returned back to the office. Said we returned back to the office. He came to the DCAC with us as well. And obviously stayed at the blue bin to process that scene. I believe we finished the dumpster first. And by this point, we had received information from the blue dumpster where they had made their final trash run. And that was in the city of Raleigh, at the 3100 block of Temple Street. It was a city dumpster. A city landfill.
So at that point, you knew that we needed to head to the landfill and figure out what was going on.
Correct.
But at this point, you been up for a minute or two? So did you go to the landfill yourself?
No, I did not.
Other detectives, officers, and lieutenants did?
Yes.
Because again, this is a giant team.
Correct.
Everyone's helping each other.
Correct.
I'll pass the instrument.
Cross-examination.
Detective Sergeant Harris. We have many moving parts in this investigation.
Correct.
And we have lots of different departments, lots of people at each department, and they're supposed to be communicating with each other.
Correct.
When you're doing your stuff over at the DCAC, that's how your investigation started, for the most part, right?
Correct.
And other agencies are doing their things, and we're hopefully in an investigation we come together and it all falls into place. Is that right?
Correct.
Now, when you find out that more people are in the apartment, that's because Aaliyah says something.
Correct.
She's the first person that gets interviewed.
Correct.
So at this point, you know that there are other people that you gotta talk to.
Correct.
And you know that there's a man that's staying there.
Yes.
And he's been identified as Cedric Johnson.
After that interview with her, we knew there was another man.
And you
Not
talked,
his full.
and you knew his name was Cedric?
Yes.
Okay. So you talked to Crystal?
Yes.
Crystal said Cedric Johnson.
Yes.
Now you have a name.
Correct.
Is this early in the evening? Early in the day?
This with Crystal was like anywhere between 4 to 9 p.m. So we initially was talking to her it started between 4 and 5 p.m.
Now when the police get to the apartment, the 165, there's lots of people there, right? At the apartment, lots of family, lots of at the very beginning of the call.
Since I was there, I'm assuming yes.
Okay. Are you aware that they all went down to the station and they talked to an initial detective?
Yes.
And that Cedric Johnson
spoke to a detective Karen first.
Correct. Again, I'm with you.
And he left and was called back to headquarters for a second interview.
Okay.
Did you know that?
At the time, not exactly.
So at the time you don't know, but you know now.
Yes.
Okay. Let me make that distinction. So he talks to Detective Harrington and gives some background information, right? And then he comes back and he talks to Detective Hernandez. And he speaks to Detective Hernandez for quite a while. Is that right? And then he leaves. We're going to come back to the whole invoke that asking for a lawyer, and then we're going to come back to that. But when you get there, no one has told you that he's asked for a lawyer. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
In fact, you don't even know that he's asked for a lawyer until May 22nd of 2022. Is that fair to say?
Correct.
Like 3 years later, almost.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't know that he asked for a lawyer.
No.
Okay. So you go in, you talk to him, you ask him some questions, he talks for a while. Ultimately, he does tell you what happened.
Correct.
And when he tells you what happened, he's remorseful. He's crying. Is that right?
Yes.
Very upset.
Yes.
And he's told you he's panicking during this interview.
Yes.
He tells you at one point that at the end that they're terrified of CPS and what's going to happen.
Correct.
And at this point, are you aware that there's been CPS history with both him and Crystal for years?
I know. I know of it.
You knew that this was CPS was a major player in their lives.
Yes.
Okay. So when he starts talking about the events, when the baby starts throwing up, you would agree with me that he's kind of jumbling it all up and jumping around.
Yes.
And it's really hard to understand exactly what his timeline is.
Correct.
Now, your first priority at this point is to find the baby. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
So your goal is to let him tell you what the little bits of what happened, but you want to know where Cedric is.
Yes.
And by Cedric, I mean CJ.
Yes.
So we don't really get a good idea in that interview of what actually happened. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
So we really don't know what happened in that apartment, do we?
No.
Now, okay, so let's talk about when he asked for the lawyer. Have you watched that part of it recently?
Yes.
All right. If you don't mind, I'm going to play for the jury a small portion of a video of State's Exhibit. No, this is State's Exhibit number 26. Okay? This is at 2 hours, 26 minutes, and 29 seconds. Okay? And while the machine's resetting, this is for context. This is the part where Detective Hernandez has left.
Mm-hmm.
Cedric Johnson has smoked a cigarette. The police have already determined that he has warrants, and they are about to arrest him. Okay?
Okay.
Now this is the part where he is not in the room, but you can hear the conversation just outside the interview room. Okay?
Yes.
Now let me ask you this. This is over at Jack Evans.
Cool.
Are the interview rooms at Jack Evans all in one location?
No.
So each division has their own interview rooms?
Yes.
What's the door situation for the youth section?
I've never worked in that unit, so I couldn't really give you a definite answer. I just know they have interview rooms.
Do most of those doors lock from the outside?
They should block from that side.
And in this situation, do you know, we've identified at least one person who's speaking to Cedric Johnson in this video, and that's Sergeant Herrera.
Mm-hmm.
And she's the one that he is talking to as we start at 2 hours, 26 minutes, and 29 seconds. Okay?
Okay.
So that's a little context for the jury. Okay. Now at this point, she says that the children are being interviewed. And he says, for what? And she says, for criminal offense. Is that right?
Correct.
And he says, a criminal offense of what? And she says, kidnapping. Is that right?
I believe so.
Okay, now I'm going to restart it at 2:26:59.
Okay.
Now, I'm stopping it at 2:27:04. She says kidnapping, and he says, I didn't kidnap anybody. Is that right?
Correct.
Now, he's talking about himself committing a criminal offense. I didn't kidnap anybody. Is that right?
Correct.
Now, we already know that Halia has identified somebody in that house left with the baby, right?
Correct.
Now, looking back, with the hindsight that we have after you talked to him, we know that he has done something with the baby. Is that right?
Correct.
And we know he's thinking about criminal offenses because he said, I didn't kidnap anybody, right?
Correct.
Okay, let's keep playing. Now he says, what are they being interviewed for or thereabouts? And she says they're being interviewed because they're witnesses, right?
Correct.
And again, we already know that Aaliyah has already identified at least a man walked out with that baby, right?
Correct.
Like,
Yeah, I know the 18-month-old is missing, but I didn't have to do it. They had nothing to do with it. Who says they were there?
so I just stopped it at 2:27:26. Sergeant Herrera says they talked, they were there, right?
Correct.
Now, if they're talking and they know something, in hindsight, if they saw something, they would have seen Cedric Johnson walking out with a baby, right?
In hindsight, yes.
Okay, let's keep playing. We're 2:27:26. Now, right there, he says, I need to talk to a lawyer. Isn't that right?
Can you play it back one more time?
Sure.
If you played it, I'll just check the time.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I've jumped it back to 2:27:17, so sometimes it has a little bit of.
Who says they were there? I didn't talk to them. Okay.
right there, he says, I need to talk to a lawyer. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Now, and the detective says, okay, go in that room and sit down.
Yes.
Now, when you heard that, you said that interview should have stopped and nothing should have happened after that. Isn't that right?
In my deposition?
Yes. The last time we talked about this on the stand.
Yeah.
And nobody told you that, right? And you were asked, they should have never interviewed him, and you said yes. Isn't that right?
Yes.
And you were asked, when somebody says to a detective, and it doesn't have to be you exactly, that they want a lawyer, that's it. And I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but you said yes.
Yes.
And if you had known that he had said that, you would have never interviewed him. You said that, didn't you?
Yes.
That's all. I'll pass the witness.
Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. The question, because you were asked when you gave those answers, you didn't have the full context of this conversation, did you?
No.
Because what happens immediately after States 26 was stopped by Ms. Harden? What's the very next thing he says?
You started asking about his kids. You want to know what his kids do?
He says, I don't mind talking to you so long as I know my kids are okay, right?
Yes.
Those are the words that he says. I'm just gonna get queued up real quick.
Yeah, I knew the lady who came in the first time, like, don't get around to me. I got a question about my position. So, criminal officer, what? I didn't get that. Okay, what is this like?
Should the child be missing? So, 8-year-old that's missing?
Yeah, I was like 18-month-old missing. So I did not do it. They had nothing to do with it.
But they were there, they called, so.
Who said they were there?
They did.
Yeah.
So you understand that?
Okay, I need to talk to them.
Okay, they just don't make sense.
Okay, yeah, I'm not going to be able to talk to my kids. I don't want to talk to nobody as long as I don't want my kids already. Somebody told me that they want to live here. Now I told me to get somewhere else.
They're the end of this time. They look up the children.
What do you think they look at the children? Like, what's
Yeah,
that?
this is time.
Like, what's
The
that?
children, this is time. They look up the children. So they're happy on them. And once everything's taken care of, they'll be allowed to go home.
So what do I say? Well, I already said I was saying, and I already talked to you. What?
And so right now, we've been outstanding warrants. So you're not going to potentially
So you begin playing that at 2:26 and about 38 seconds, and I stopped it at 2:28:16. The entirety of that conversation that occurs outside that room, that the room picks up. What is the defendant's concern?
Objection, speculation.
Sustained. Rephrase your question.
What does the entire conversation revolve around?
You want to know where his students were and what they did.
The focus is his kids, right?
Correct.
He expresses, what are you talking about criminal offense? He's not even thinking about criminal offense, he's thinking about his kids, right?
Correct.
And as Ms. Martin said, hindsight, we can infer a lot of things, but at that moment in time, that this conversation is happening, his concern that he expresses is concerning the kids.
Objection, speculation.
Sustained. Rephrase your question.
Specifically, he says, I don't mind talking to nobody so long as I know my kids are okay.
Correct.
And if you had known the full context of this conversation when you were asked about that in the previous testimony you gave,
Yes.
would you have answered the same way you answered before, or would you answer different?
No, I wouldn't.
And what would you have said had you known the full context of the conversation?
Had I known the full context of the conversation, I would have asked for clarification, and I would have asked that myself.
I'm gonna say this.
Sergeant, you have no idea what was in his mind.
No.
You have no idea if he was concerned about his children's safety or if he was concerned about his own well-being and criminal charges coming for him, do you?
No.
You don't know. Nobody knows. Right.
No.
And because no one knows, you can't say that he's there because he's asking for a lawyer so that he can find out that his kids are okay. Right?
Correct.
We know that the kids are saying, at least one of them has said, a man took that baby, right?
Correct.
And we know later on, in hindsight, that he has said he's the one that took the baby, right?
Correct.
So it is a very easy, reasonable deduction of the evidence that he is very concerned about what's going to happen to him as a result of that. Would you agree with that?
No, I'm not gonna object, that's speculation.
Sustained. Rephrase your question.
We know that there are a lot of questions happening about what criminal offense are we talking about, right?
Yes.
They talk about kidnapping, and what does he say? I didn't do no kidnapping, I didn't commit no kidnapping. He's talking about himself committing criminal offenses, isn't that right?
Yes.
I'll ask the witness.
Any redirect?
No,
All right. May this witness be finally excused.
no objection from the state.
No objection.
Thank you, Sergeant. You're free to leave and go about your business. Thank you.
Trevor, to keep me subject to recall, just
All right. As long as the prosecutors have your phone number, if you get a call from them, you may have to come back. Thank you. Call your next witness.
State calls Julia Wayland.
Thank you for raising your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
yes, ma'am.
Thank you. If you would be seated, watch your step.
Thank
You may proceed.
Ms. Wayland, can you introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury and spell your name?
My name is Julia Wayland, Julia-W-Y-L-A-N-D. I work for the Justice Department and currently am a criminal intelligence analyst that I was with the NCA for 12 years.
A criminal intelligence analyst?
Yes,
How is that different than crime scene?
it's more. It's not out in the field.
Okay. A lot of computer work,
Yes.
looking at digital things, social media, that type of thing.
Yes, reports, backgrounds, reports.
And how long have you been with the police department?
Almost 13 years.
And in your time with the police department, have you only been with crime scene and intelligence analyst?
Yes.
Tell us, when you were with crime scene, what was your technical title?
I was a crime scene analyst.
What does that mean?
When requested, we respond out to crime persons to process the scene, avert the scene, document the scene as it is. As we maybe according to his hand, process that for any additional possible evidence, and then retain it for.
What is your background, training, and education experience that makes you qualified to do that work?
Well, I have a degree with a focus on criminalistics. I was a teaching assistant for 2.5 to 3 years in the field, and I started my master's.
When you started with the Dallas Police Department, did they provide you any training to do this work?
Yes.
And what was that?
So when I first joined the department, I was a technician, and so they gave us 4 weeks classroom training, and then, 1 week classroom training, 4 weeks field training. When I promoted to an analyst, it was 4 weeks, 13 months. It was a long time, I was so sorry. It was more classroom training and more field training, and then we did proficiency tests annually as well as off-site training.
And that was the training that you described earlier with how to document the scene, collect evidence from the scene, things like that.
Yes.
And not now, you said it's not field work, but previously, would you go to actual crime scenes?
Yes.
How do you know at a crime scene what to look for and collect?
Maybe critical thinking. When you get to a crime scene, you speak to whoever requested you, whether it be detective or officer or a combination thereof. You have to kind of take into account what they told you and expand a little bit beyond, because nobody knows full story at that point. So it's just kind of like thinking about what they told you and so what possible add-ons could there be, or where could this lead to that I might need to gather additional evidence.
Were you working the overnight hours from July 10th, 2019 to July 11th, 2019?
Yes.
As a criminal intelligence analyst or a crime scene analyst?
Crime scene analyst.
Were you dispatched to an address or to a ride-along? To an address that you didn't know necessarily until you got there?
No, I was dispatched to an address because I had my own product, so I didn't have officers.
Okay. What was that address?
Do you mind if I take notes?
I do not.
The first address was 3900 West Walnut Street at 400 North Bullet Drive, New York.
And what was at that address?
An apartment complex.
What specifically were you asked to go there and review or look for or collect?
I was asked to photograph a dumpster.
Was that address that was in Garland? Was that Dallas County?
Your Honor, I object to any further line of questioning as it relates to this witness and this subject matter with my 3 objections.
The court recalls your objections and they are overruled, but noted for the record.
May I approach the witness?
You may.
What time did you arrive at that address, if you recall?
Don't recall.
But again, you worked the overnight shift?
Yes,
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 31 through 33.
And what are they?
31 is the location I went to, the name of the apartment complex. 32 is an overall of the dumpster photograph, and 33 is the newspaper.
Please fairly and accurately represent the scene as you found it that night/morning.
Yes.
Now we offer states 31 through 33.
Same for objection.
The court recalls your objections. They are overruled.
Permission to publish.
States Exhibits 31, 32, and 33 are admitted for all purposes.
States 31. You said that's the pertinent name, so it's like the kind of placard that's out front. States 32.
That's the dumpster that they asked me to.
We can see on the dumpster that it's got like some identifying marks on there. Is that right? Some numbers and letters telling us what this specifically is.
Yes.
And then states 33.
It was just the contents of the dumpster.
Those contents appear to be pretty low in the dumpster. Is that a fair description of the trash that was in there?
Yes.
Did you go to another location on this same call?
I did.
What was that location?
10234 White Elm Road.
And what type of location was that?
Well, it's a residence, but we went to the alley behind the residence.
And what was the purpose for going there?
There were 2 trash cans there, and I was asked to document the trash cans and contents and collect anything that may be involved in.
And did you do that?
I did.
May I approach the witness again?
You may.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as states 34 through 38 and ask you if you recognize those. And what are they?
34 is the closest cross street to the residence. 35 is kind of an overall mid-range of the alley and the trash cans that I was there to look at. 36 is just the 2 bins. 37 is the interior recycling bin where I found a blanket that I didn't collect in the photograph of and holding it for floor.
Please fairly and accurately represent that scene that night.
Yes.
Ronald Wade offers states 34 through 30.
Same 30 judges.
The court recalls your objections. They are overruled.
Permission to publish?
States Exhibits 34 through 38 are admitted for all purposes. And you may.
States 34, that's the, like you said, the cross streets.
Yes, closest to the house to reference.
So we see white elm and black walnut.
Yes.
A little hard to see the black walnut. And then states 35.
Yes, so that's the alley. I'm in the alley behind the house, and it has the address of the house on it with the 2 bins.
36 is just the close of the first bins. 37, what is that in the photo?
That's the inside recycling bin with a blanket just kind of thrown in.
And 30.
That's when I've taken it out of the trash, and I put a number next to it, but it's to show the identifier it's required to get it.
And as you're holding it, and we can see in states 38 that there are several knots that were within this blanket. Is that here?
Yes, it was not.
Now, Ms. Whalen, you said that you collected that blanket. Is that correct?
first witness.
You may.
Ms. Whalen, I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 39. Do you recognize this item? And how do you recognize this item?
So the original packaging has my initials and my badge number on it. That's my writing and tag case number. This is my information on the evidence tag, my writing, my name, my badge, my element number, and location.
And you sealed this up initially, is that correct?
Yes.
Admittedly, there's additional writing on the box that does not belong to you, is that correct?
Correct.
Can you tell who it belongs to?
So this tag over here belongs to Swift's, so as well as this. I'm not sure about those. The evidence removed sticker from the property then. And that's also marked where other properties located.
So the additional markings and notations on here, it sounds like, are that of going through the process of being tested. Is that fair?
Speculation.
Stored and tested.
She can answer if she knows.
Do you know?
Thanks for the
When we open the box labeled State's Exhibit 39, what do we see contained in?
There's two bags. So this is the blanket that I collected, and then this is the paper number that I used to identify it as my secret item number 1.
How do you know that this is the blanket you collected?
This is my writing. Where this the dark blue is arching with my initials on it. Same thing with the case number and a tag.
Again, there's additional writing on here that appears to be from somewhere else, and can you tell where it's from? Opening up the bag that is labeled as containing the blanket inside States 39, does that appear to be the same one that you collected? Yes. Generally offer States 39 and its contents.
Can I take this witness on board, Arya?
You may.
Thank you. Come here, Brooke.
You may.
Now, you said you did not know all of the markings that are on State's Exhibit 39, is that right?
I don't know what those indicate.
You don't know what those markings, you said that you didn't know what those markings are, is that right? Okay. And on the first bag, does this have a number itself or just the bag? Just the bag, okay. The bag, this looks like it's got various tape on it.
Yes.
That's evidence sealing tape, right?
Yes.
And anytime it's opened, someone puts their initials on and, or when they put the tape on, they put their initials on to make sure, say that it was sealed.
Yes.
And each time it's opened, they put new tape on when it's ready to get closed.
Yes.
Have you done all of the Have you reviewed all of these markings to say that these are the markings for every person that has opened this bag?
No.
Are you familiar with every one of the markings that are on the bag that's not counting the markings on the table? Do you know what all this other stuff is?
With the exception of this, I mean, this is mine, this is Swift's. That is similar to what Swift puts on there, which is also in the box, but I don't know because I've done work for Swift.
Okay, so you actually don't know what some of the writing on this is.
Correct.
And then the other bag, is that same for this bag? Smaller bag? You don't know what all of these markings are. Okay. Okay. I object to improper authentication and my other three objections.
Your other three objections, the court does recall them. Those are overruled. The court finds the chain of custody has been sufficiently described. Therefore, State's Exhibit 39 is admitted for all purposes.
Permission to publish this.
You may.
And read those witnesses.
Yes.
This is the blanket folded out that you recovered from that blue bin alley on July 11th. Yes. You can see that there is a notation and a cut that appears to be from testing. Is that correct? But we can see a lot of discoloration on the blanket. Yes. But it appears to have something on it. Yes.
Cross-examination.
Ms. Whalen, you actually went to 3900 West Walnut, Garland, which is where the dumpster was?
Yes.
And you actually went to 10234 White Elm Road, which was where the blanket was found?
Yes.
That's only about 1.2 miles, is that right?
I don't know.
Very short. Takes about 3 minutes to drive.
Okay, you say so.
If Google says it, would you have any reason to disagree with that?
I don't recall, that was a long time ago.
Any reason to disagree with it? No. Thank you. I'll pass the witness.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
May this witness be finally excused.
No objection from the state.
No objection.
All right, thank you. You are free to leave and go about your business.
Thank you, ma'am.
Call your next witness.
This is the
Last one for today. All right, that's all right. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we have now reached the end of today's witnesses, so we will leave a little tiny bit early today. You are ordered to be back in the jury room no later than 9:30 tomorrow morning. Remember your instructions. You cannot discuss any of the testimony that you've heard today with anyone. Not each other and not your spouse or significant others. And we will see you tomorrow morning.
All right.
Remember, no Googling. Mm-hmm. right, you may be seated. Mr. Zachariah, I'm going to give you the questionnaires. One moment.